can't hear anything.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear in the back? Okay, good. Roll call. Governor Councilor Miera,
Here.
Councilor Waldman,
Here.
Councilor Knight,
Here.
Councilor Alsobrook,
Here.
Councilor Burkett,
Here.
and Councilor Murray.
Yes.
We are all here. Great. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? We can just have a consensus vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Next, we'll have a presentation from our water team on what we're doing to further the village's water quantity. Thanks, Mike.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Administrator. I wanted to just give you all a brief update. We've briefed you on a number of occasions on the stages of activities that the water team has undertaken on behalf of the village. And the team, myself, John Stomp, Brittany Gom, and Carol Cristiano are experts in each areas of interest that we have to advance on behalf of the village's water situation. You've heard of all the work that had to be done to get all of the audit of all the various wells and water uses associated with each of those wells. You've heard that we've met with the state engineer's office on a number of occasions to try to start advancing the issues associated with those water rights and the use to consolidate that under a municipal permit application. You've also heard that we've done an extensive audit, and Brittany Gom has received the last water use data points from the meters that the village has under their Public Works Department. That information has been transmitted to the state engineer's office, and there's been a calculation of all of the overpumping that has occurred over a number of years associated with the village's water use. When you take a look at all the different well permits and you put them all together, there's been underpumping of some wells and significant overpumping of other wells. So by putting all of the different well permits together in what they call a combine and commingle permit, that would essentially put everything under one umbrella permit, with the exception of a few domestic well permits that are being used for some of the fire stations needs for the fire suppression system. You then have the ability to use the totality of those wells to meet the totality of the village's demands. And we've determined that overpumping over that period of time is 36 acre feet. And now there's a payback plan that's been submitted to the state engineer's office, and they have agreed that we can utilize the one-time contract purchase of the town of Bernalillo's stored water rights in Abiquiu to quote, pay back all of the over diverted water. And typically when that happens by anybody, there's a double payback requirement. But because we've been so diligent and putting our best foot forward with the state engineer's office, they're only charging us a one-time payback of just what's been overpumped, not a penalty of twice the water. So that's a very positive development. We have the full support of the state engineer's office because we're taking proactive steps And the fact that John Stomp has now provided an excellent 40-year water plan, we're now in a position to provide that to the state engineer's office as per their request in order for us to justify this combine and commingle permit application as a municipality. So you have to have a 40-year water plan in place. They're willing to accept the draft until the community goes through a process of adopting that plan through the village council in the future. But the draft as it sits right now fully describes all of our current and existing use needs. It talks in focus points on the need for a fire suppression system and additional water rights that we would need for that. It talks in other areas of maybe potential future use, but that will be deferred in terms of how we structure the plan in the future to have a community engagement on the overall future use needs of the village before we, quote, finalize the 40-year water plan. But in its draft state right now, the state engineer will accept that as the village's draft, and that will allow us to move forward with the combine and commingle permit application, which will take several months to get finalized. But once we have that in place, that will allow for the village to take additional steps to acquire water rights for the gap that we have right now between our water rights and our annual use is roughly 15 acre feet per year, depending on the amount of volume we pump for the recreational sites and the grass fields and whatnot. But up to about 15 acre feet, and we can stay in compliance on that, utilizing the town of Bernalillo's and the Corrales existing water lease agreement that is good until 2030. Beyond that, we'll have to, between now and then, we'll need to acquire additional water rights for just our current uses. And then we will probably want to look at acquiring some additional water rights for expansion of the fire suppression system and other objectives the village and the community decides are important in the future. So that's my brief update on where we stand, but we're ready to move forward in 2026 with a very good plan and a proactive strategy to put the village of Corrales on good footing with its compliance with the state engineer's requirements, and to set ourselves up for good conversations on what our future use water needs will be in going forward. So we have our water team available if there are any specific questions that I can't answer, but they've come on virtually to be available for any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mike Hammond? Yes, Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. When you presented the last time, I asked this question, and I'm going to do it again because I want to make sure that it's in the record and that I understand how the water rights are going to be used. And my question before was, I know we're going to have an umbrella over all the wells that we have, but if we have to buy some more water rights from other places, will our farmers get to use any of that? That won't just be the villages. I mean, the farmers may have to pay for that.
Right.
Will they be able to access some of that water?
Councilor Knight, Mayor, that's a question for the village. I mean, if the village chooses to move forward with acquiring additional water rights for multiple purposes, including agricultural support, that certainly can be done. And that would be something that it's kind of a new concept for the state engineers' views of a municipality. But I do know that there's lots of agricultural use in the commercial context in all of the cities of New Mexico, and they're under the permit of the municipalities, like the cannabis business or people that grow greenhouse vegetables that are in the city limits of Albuquerque. They can just get a permit from a meter and a billing system from the city, just like any other commercial permit, that they get for that type of activity. So it's not unusual necessarily, but to actually lease water in like a water bank scenario, that would be a new concept under the normal use of the municipal permit. So it's something that we would propose in the 40-year water plan, and then if we had a specific water right that with an application to the state engineer for transfer, that would be for those, we'd identify the purposes of that transfer, and we could put agricultural use in there and how that would function as leases to individual farmers or whatever mechanism that the village decides to move forward. That's certainly of a good, potential.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Murray?
Thank you. So are we taking comments on the plan, or are we just we're not taking comments on?
You can ask questions.
Not tonight from the public, but
No, I mean for us.
oh, yes.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
So on page, I think I've written it down, 4 or 8. You talk about the village having a step system, and I think that's only related to the commercial area. Is that not correct? I don't think there are any private homes connected to it.
I do believe there are a few private homes that they are allowed to connect to the system if they're in the
allowed,
area.
They connected.
I do believe there are a few. I don't know how many.
Okay.
But yeah, I
Well,
think we have a couple.
I was a little worried that it kind of implies that the step is throughout the village. And I was wanting to say that maybe we need to say it's mostly in the commercial area on that second paragraph under planning for the future.
They do have a step in the Priestley Coralville area. They have a line there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's connected to it yet.
Right.
But anyway, okay. Also the siphon that you have on the map, I think it's way too low. I think it needs to be up at the very top of the village, because I think where you have the siphon is coming out around Romero Road or somewhere in there. So anyway, it's just a thought that you need to probably
Graphic,
yeah.
change, yeah, okay.
move that back up. Also, if the village were to institute a public water system for the commercial area, what happens to the wells that they're existing? Do they give that up, or do they have to turn them in, or does the village get credit for them, or what?
Right. That's a great question, Councilor Murray, Mr. Mayor. It's really could be an ordinance matter for the council. When I was the water director at the city of Santa Fe, we put in an ordinance form that if a home or commercial enterprise was on a private well, and there was a service line off the municipal system that came within 100 feet of their residence, that they would be required to hook up to that system, and also put their well out of service. So that was one end of the spectrum. The other end would be that the individual well owner could continue to use it, like for outdoor water use or something like that, and that they would hook up strictly for indoor municipal use, depending on what the council would, want to look at in terms of advice from, your professional team and whoever else from the community would have interest in that. So there's an array of things that can be done under ordinance under that regard.
Well, if we take the extreme and they cap the well, do they lose their water rights then?
Councilor Murray, nobody has a water right
Well,
to
I
a
mean,
domestic well.
Allocation.
Yeah, they and some mutual domestics, there's some rules that the state engineer has that if a municipal system or a mutual domestic were to hook up wells and they took them out of service, that water right or use of it would inure to the provider. So that's another model that we could look at as well.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Well, thank you, Mike, and there will be opportunity at a later time for the public to give input on the water plan. The water plan was 40-year water plan draft was in the packet that's available, and you all ought to look at it. And if you have comments on it, there will be a time for public input on that. So Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
The next item is reports, and there's a change in how we used to do reports. The administrator's report, before the administrator used to give a verbal narrative of what's going on in the village. I think a change has been made, which is very positive, I think. And the administrator, Melanie, has written an administrator's report, and it's available on from the mayor's message. It's available on the website, and it's a very comprehensive listing of things that are going on in the village. Big advantages of this are that one, it takes less time for the administrator to read all these items. Two, the items are right in front of everybody. Also, it gives the public, for sure, opportunity to look at the administrator's report and then comment on it later in this meeting in the Correlanios Forum. So before, you wouldn't know what the administrator was going to say, and there was no way you could anticipate what he or she would say. This way, it's written down, it's in black and white, and if the public has any comments or questions, they can ask. And so it's a really nice way to put it out in front of everybody and give the public, beside the governing body, an opportunity to look at that and decide, if they have questions or comments, to voice them later in the meeting. So anyway, Melanie, do you have any comments, or you have any questions for Melanie?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So yeah, this is born out of my journalism degree. So I would much rather write something and have you all read it than get up here and talk for 45 minutes or however long. So before I take questions on what was in the report, I would like to invite Joanna Strange up to give us just a brief overview of a bosque thinning project. Joanna is, oh, yep, there you are. So this project was originally slated for, I believe, this fall, but there were some changes in availability of, I guess, money and the contractor. And so she's going to give us a short update on what's going on with that.
Mayor, councilors, hello, my name is Joe Strange, and I'm the Bosque Management Coordinator for the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District. Quick background, this position is fairly new to the district. So my background is in wildlife biology, specifically endangered species. So I'm a vegetation and wildlife person. So that's always my goal when looking at the Bosque. How do we support habitat, support wildlife while reducing wildfire risk and making sure the area is safe for public use as well. So I did hand you guys a map earlier. This project is in partnership with MNRD, the forestry division, so they will be paying for the project, but I will be managing the project on the ground. I will know next week exactly when the start date is. It may be as soon as 3 weeks. If it's not then it'll be April 1st. I'll have the contractor on the ground. So for this project, this is going to be our phase 1 project. So it's 107 acres that will be treated. We will be removing just invasive species. So salt cedar, Siberian elm, Russian olive, and any tree of heaven that's also present. The contractor we're using is Foresters and Associates. I've been working with them for years. They are great. They've been doing work in New Mexico for years now, so very familiar with all of our species identification, and I still always do training on the ground to make sure that we're only targeting the invasive species in the area. So for these 107 acres, it was originally going to be closer to where the Siphon project is right now, but if you've been out there, BOR has also done some thinning work where they're going to be putting in the high flow channels through the Bosque. So we scooted down a little bit. And on your map, you'll see the 3 treatment units. There's the north unit, and then there's an empty little area. We've walked through that. There really isn't many invasives in there. What's going to be needed in there is going to be a dead and down treatment that will come later in phase 2. And then you have your center unit and then your bottom unit closest to Alameda. So that's where we identified kind of the highest density of the invasives that we will be targeting. So phase 1 will include the removing of them. We will use herbicide treatment. We use cut stump treatment. And so a riparian safe herbicide, the tree is cut at the base, the herbicide is applied just to the cut within 10 minutes so that the tree itself will really sap and seal that in there so it's not spreading to anything else in the system. And then the material will get, that's something we'll discuss. Most of it will get chipped and removed out. So removing that fuel load and some, I believe we'll have 2 staging areas. So if anyone in the community wants to come and pick up chip before we haul it out, we partner with Soilutions. They're down in the South Valley and they turn the wood chip into mulch. Or I'm sorry, compost. Some of it they mulch. I don't think they use ours. Ours goes into compost because of the species. And then some of it maybe also, I think you guys have firewood. We'll discuss also leaving firewood for the public in the staging areas. So chip and firewood will be available depending on what your needs are. We'll leave and then we will take out the rest to reduce obviously the fuel load in the bosque. So that will be phase 1 is the removal of the invasives. Now, phase 2, I always look at it. My goal is restoration of that habitat. So we will come in, we will do a respray. So really truly to get rid of the invasives, you want to do at least 2 more treatments. So they come in and they just respray any of the small sprouts. It's very quick, very easy. And that will keep them from coming back in. And then just seeing what the ground looks like at that time will come in with revegetation. So grass and forb species that'll help stabilize the soil. They'll provide pollinator habitat and then any mid-story that we need. So any New Mexico olive, which you guys really don't need here. Your bosque is looking great on New Mexico olive. We may do some diversity, some baccharis and some coyote willow in areas. And so it'll be the retreatment and then the restoration to bring that habitat back. And so really we'll be working in this 100 acres for the next 3 to 4 years. And then, like I said, we'll come in and we will start doing some of the dead and down removal. You have areas, I think you're all aware, where we've lost a lot of limbs. Our cottonwoods are aging. We have a lot of fuel on the ground. So again, contractors come in and they remove that. And then again, we'll come in and revegetate after, just judging on what sometimes the seed is there and it'll come up on its own once we've opened that ground up. But if not, then the restoration work will come in on our end as well.
Any questions or comments for Joe? Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So the North Unit, several months ago, former Mayor Fahey and Chief Martinez had us walk through that area north of the Jones Canal.
Yes.
And it's pretty tight in there. I mean, it's pretty bad. So could you elaborate a little bit more about what's going to be done in there? I mean, there was some done in terms of clearing, but there's an awful lot of dead and down in there.
Exactly. So just by getting rid of the invasives, that'll open it up a little bit because the contractors, there's so much that we will bring in skid steers to pull the material out. And so by clearing the dead and down, we have clear access for the machines to come through and pull everything out and create staging areas to get all the material out. If we bring it, like you said, it's dense, so I can't really start the dead and down until I get the invasives out and start clearing out paths. We like to use one path in, one path out. So all of the dead and down is kind of can be grabbed from one area and moved out. So we use existing trails. And if we have to create a new access trail, it's much clearer. So that will be my phase 2, and that will likely come in 2026 treatment will come in the 2027 treatment.
So in phase 2, so when you start spraying, how bad is the seeding in terms of drought, of lack of water? I mean, does everything take hold, or does it lay dormant until it rains, or what?
They're dormant until they rain. But the biggest thing is just packing that seed bank. Once the conditions are right, they will start. And the seed mix we use has, depending on the mix, anywhere from 12 to 17 different grass and pollinator forb species. And conditions will vary, but usually at least one of them will start coming up. Some years we see, lots of chocolate flower come up. Sometimes we'll see asters come up, and other times we'll start seeing the sand drop seed come up. It depends. You're never going to get all of them, but by packing it in there and getting the different species, depending on the conditions, you'll start seeing them come up. And again, that's going to offer, once the conditions are right, all that diversity is going to actually start competing against the invasives. They're going to start coming in and keeping that population, that density down and much more manageable. So, and it depends. It's something we watch. I haven't had great success with grass plugs. So I really do believe in getting that seed in the ground, letting the conditions come up, and they start coming up. And then if not, we also do planting of mid-story. So some of our baccharis, like I said, New Mexico olive, particularly in that unit, is actually really great. I don't think I need to pack any more of that in there. But it's just that soil stabilization. And usually between 2 to 3 years, you start seeing all of that coming back, and those, particularly the bunching grasses, starting to come in and stabilize the habitat.
Thank you, Mayor.
I have a question. What about upper level canopy? The cottonwoods have been a distinctive part of our riparian habitat, and they're getting old and not going to be around for a long time. Is there any plan for replacing that upper story canopy?
Currently, I do think that by removing the invasives on the ground, that's kind of offering up more resources. You're putting less stress on the water table. Your water table here, I haven't checked. I know Chief Anthony, you guys had looked at maybe some areas. Really, truly, anything lower than 5 or 6 feet in the wintertime, we don't want to replant because they're just not going to survive. Your survival rate will be very low. So right now it's removing those invasives, reducing the stress on the water table so the cottonwoods are there. We'll have a little bit longer. And we're looking at what species will be taking over. We're looking at a lot of the narrow-leaf willow, Gooding's willow. And in some areas, and that's where we come in and we just hand auger and see what the soil conditions are. We may be able to definitely put in some cottonwoods in certain spots, but it's going to be definitely much patchier. So what we're moving to is the mosaic habitat where you're going to have more meadows. And then your patches of cottonwoods where your water table is still high enough to support them. So it will be a little bit more open. I don't necessarily think that's a negative thing, right? The land is changing, but we're still keeping it native. We're still keeping that open area, and we're still supporting the wildlife as well. And even in that southern area closer to Alameda, the coyote willow in there is beautiful and dense. And so again, that tells you have more water. So kind of on the outskirts of those areas, looking at where we can keep the cottonwood around, but it's definitely going to be more pocketed.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes, Chief Martinez.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Just a couple of little things I'd like to add. As you know, every year I try to do something in the Bosque, and this year, this has been a partnership that started with Mike Hammond under his leadership, and now we're to this level. We have Joe that's going to be, taking lead in our Bosque, and you hear it from me that, we got to do something because of the fire risk and the fire danger, and just in Joe's short time here, I've seen her past projects and her previous employer, and I'm really excited that we're going to have someone watching the contractors and making sure that they're doing what they say they're going to do. We know that our Bosque is very sensitive, so together I think we're going to be supervising and making sure that we're doing good quality work. If there's any concerns, the public can reach out to us and try to streamline that. This is the same type of contract that I brought before you before. This was approved administratively, Mayor Fahey. This is a reimbursable grant. So it's 100% paid for by the state of New Mexico. It's $380,000. And it's going to be reimbursed. So, and they had to do the contract with Corrales because we already had everything established because of our previous work. So as we move forward, Joe will approve and inspect to make sure that she approves of the work. Once we get notification that it's approved, we'll do it in phases. So we'll pay the contractor, the Village of Corrales will, and then we'll submit for reimbursement. I will have a bar coming before you because we thought this was going to be slated for the fall. So this is kind of fast track. So we'll be working on the bar probably in the next, couple future agenda items for approval. So I just wanted to add at that you understand how the money's flowing through. But again, I'm super proud that we have this partnership. It's been in the works for years, and I'm super excited to see this project get started. So thank you for the support.
Councilor Waldman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Chief, is there any involvement with MRGCD? I mean, this is their property, basically.
Correct.
Are they involved either financially or from a management perspective or?
The management, yes. So that's their position right here. She's part of the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, and she is going to supervise it. So in the years past, it's really taxed our department to go back and forth and a lot of in kind. So this year, again, they cover a wide area. I forget how many acres they have to cover. So we're very thankful that their focus is here in Corrales, and they're going to be managing it. And all the in-kind, like she mentioned, the wood chips and all that stuff, it's all going to be calculated for, which helps us in the process.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
As long as you're up there, Chief Martinez, you want to talk about the wood removal and maybe collection by residents this weekend?
Absolutely. Mayor, thank you. Mayor, councilors, public, Zoom. We have a firewood pickup slated for this Saturday at Romero Road from 10 to 11 o'clock. The weather's going to be moving in. We didn't anticipate that when we planned it, but it's free firewood. It's bosque mix. It's salt cedar, elm, Russian olive. It is what it is. So if you're picky, it probably won't be for you, but it's firewood. It's been seasoned, except for when it gets rained on. But we welcome the public, anyone, spread the word. We're ready. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Did you have something else?
There was the question on funding. So this project, this 100 acres is covered by the Emnerd State Forestry, but the dead and down treatments and restoration will be paid for by the district. And so, and again, my goal is to get this through and then start working on other areas to make sure that we're getting, because there are other areas. This is just the first phase one of this project, and we'll continue more projects through. So you will be seeing a lot of me. I walk here on the weekends, almost every weekend, just with my dog as well. But when the project is going on, I will be the one on the ground. So whenever there's any questions, any concerns, I'll leave my cards. Please feel free to call me. No, any little question, I'm here and ready to help.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. I did get a text message from Steve to answer the question about the Priestley Corval sewer. We do have one person hooked up and a second in progress. So people are starting to hook up down there to the sewer. So does council have any questions about anything in the administrator's report?
Counselor Waldman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Melanie, in your report, just a couple quick things. You mentioned about the old bank. Since there's no money budgeted for the project, no work planned for the old bank. Can you tell us what plans were previously developed and at what cost? And I don't believe this came before the council previously.
Right. So we sat down and took a look at what are the village's needs from a staffing standpoint. What do we need administratively? What do we need just from there? So the biggest thing we need in terms of the administration is a place to store our permanent records. So things like our personnel files, those have to be kept for 55 years after the employee leaves the employment of the village. The village hasn't even been incorporated for 55 years. So theoretically, we should have every personnel file for anybody who has ever worked for the village. And because it's basically a permanent file, it has to be a paper file at the moment. The state statute has not kept up with technology. So even though we could digitize the records, there's a way we can do it, but you have to prove to the state archives that you could still produce a paper copy should somebody want it. So we do actually have a company coming in to digitize our records at the end of the month, and they're going to take all of the records that are that had been at the Jones House that are now in a Connex container, and they're going to take like all of our old ordinances, all of our old minutes. So, I mean, some of the original minutes from the first council meeting in 1971 were typewritten on onion skin paper. And they have a process whereby they can digitize that for us. And then we'll still keep those paper copies, but then we'll have a digital backup that will be on a portable drive that we'll keep in a fireproof safe. And then we'll also upload a copy to our servers. But so the original idea was that we needed a place for our village archives. So the thought was we would take the area where the tellers had once been at the bank and wall that off and make all of that record storage. And then the area that had been the bank manager's office could be an office for Main Street, because we took it out of our contract from this year, but our contract historically has offered a place for Main Street to have an office. And then part of that is for Main Street to run a visitor center for us, which we don't want to call it a visitor center because if we do that, there's certain amenities that have to go along with that if you have a visitor center. So we had proposed calling it the Corrales Information Center, and it would be a place where people could go and get information about the history of the village, you know, businesses, a map of the village, all these things. And then I had also talked to Anne Van Camp from the Historical Society about having a portion of the lobby be a place for them to display some of their exhibits. And they could have it could rotate out. They could also have some storage. They're in desperate need of storage for some of their archives as well. So, and then the last thing was to wall off a portion of the lobby area and turn it into meeting space, because that's the other thing we desperately need is meeting space for our boards and commissions. You know, our community center is rented out almost every evening of the week. So our boards and commissions often have to meet other places. And it is in our ordinance that as long as the chairperson approves it, they can meet, as long as they're meeting in village, within the village limits. But I know occasionally we've had groups that had to meet down at Flying Star, and that's not technically in the village, but it's close. So those are the things that we had done. And at the time we had Facility Build working on the gym for us. And so they drew up just a very basic plan for us at no charge. And they priced that out, and they estimated it would cost between $400,000 and $500,000 to renovate the bank to that. Counselor,
So we,
That's ridiculous.
right?
I mean, can't we talk to our legislators about this? I mean, really, to have to spend that much money just to store hard copies of documents that are 55 years old,
Mhm.
it just seems, again, ridiculous.
Well, because we are contracting with this group called the Newbie Group, and I'll have some information on that in my next report. But we've contracted with them to digitize a lot of our records, so we won't have as much that we need storage space for. So we can kind of go in and tweak that plan. But yeah, those are the things that we've identified as most needed.
so will you be developing some kind of a budget or something to present to us as we do our budget deliberations
I would like to, yes,
specifically for this?
yes.
Second question is about Saucy Park. You talked about the property deed wrap up and a few other budget adjustments and things. Is there a timeline for when that can be completed?
No, we're working on it. We're getting it done as soon as possible. Our contact is on vacation for the next week, so we're working with her supervisor. But yeah, it's just, you know, it kind of goes back and forth between all the different parties involved. So
And you indicated that Nav had a visit.
Mhm.
Did she have comments on the park?
not really. I mean, she took pictures and you know, gave us some tips on how to tweak our budget and things like that to best get us through this next process.
And finally, is there a way that we can move forward on that drainage area, to make it into the dog park? I don't think, you know, it's not part of the Saucy Park. It's separate. I've had a lot of correspondence from constituents who really would like to have that gate unlocked, maybe a couple of benches put in and clean it up. Is that possible to do without a major effort on the part of the village? Something to think
I
about.
don't know.
Something to think about.
Yes, I mean, it was something that came up when we were all up there.
Right.
And, you know, I would hate to say yes and then all of a sudden be like, oh, well, you know, we didn't think of this legal ramification or, but yes, it is something that we are talking about
Yeah, you
doing.
can
So.
get back to us in the next meeting and
Yeah.
meeting after that. Great. Thank you very
Counselor
much.
Alsterbrook?
Oh,
Thank you.
are you taking suggestions on the next
Mhm.
as well? So, I'm sorry, just one last thing. Would you be able to give us an update on Corrales Elementary School construction and where that is and specifically whether there's going to be a written commitment on the part of APS to use their cafeteria?
I will see what I can find out.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Counselor Alsterbrook?
Thank you, Mayor. Two questions and a request for the next report. First question is a follow-up along the old bank issues. Because those original records are so frail and fragile, is that really the right place to be keeping them? Why don't it has thought been given to third-party vendors like Iron Mountain, who also have scanning service and digitalization services, because it can't be that long until we convince the legislature that if we scan a document, guess what? We also have printers and
Yeah.
they can print
That
pages.
they're on the list to
So-
be scanned.
So,
Yeah.
so my idea here is that a long-term contract with Iron Mountain can be pricey depending on the volume of documents, obviously. But in the short term, until the legislature, you know, brings us into the 20th century, even though we're now in the 21st century, that could be a viable alternative rather than the risk of a fire inside the old bank for
Right.
whatever reason.
Right.
And there go all those records.
Yeah. No, the company, like I said, I'll give an update in the next administrator's report, but the company that's coming in, they are going to take all of those records and digitize them for us. And then, they've worked, most recently with Red River and, or no, sorry, Angel Fire. And, they did a project for their municipality. And they said that all it takes is a letter written to the state archivist, and then we should be covered. Because, we do have printers,
Right.
so we can recreate a paper copy of the document. So, yeah, it's kind of a paperwork issue, but it is something that we have to remember that it has to be done. But yeah, I mean, just for history's sake, I'd like to keep all of the original minutes, but we need to have those backed up because, like you said, if we have some sort of fire, flood, anything like that, we lose all of our history of our village. So yeah, all of that stuff is slated for pickup on the 30th, and it will be taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Second question or concern is regarding the new format of the administrator's report. I certainly understand the utility of it, and I understand the thoroughness of being able to keep the records for that. But I have concerns that while as administrator, it certainly is your job to ensure department heads are able to do their jobs effectively without interference from this governing body. I am concerned that by reducing the person-to-person interaction, it may have a negative impact on openness, transparency, and communication with the department heads in general. So that is a possible unforeseen negative consequence. And I bring that up because administrator in place almost 20 years ago actively prevented contact between this council and department heads. And I don't want to see us go in that direction. So I understand the intent. I see this as an experiment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the books that are on your desk tonight, I do have a list of all of our department heads, their contact information. So council does have that. I do ask if you have a complaint about a department that you bring it to me first, and then I'll deal with the departments. But if you have a question for a department head, please go ahead and email them and just CC me. And then, with anybody who had information in the administrator's report tonight, I did ask them to be available in case council did have a question and would like to hear directly from the department heads. So that will be part of it going forward. And you can just say, hey, I'd like to talk to Steve about the speed signs, and Steve can come up and give you an update. So it's just to help facilitate the preparedness of our
Right.
department heads. But yeah, I totally agree. It's not in any way, shape, or form meant to reduce transparency or communication. It's meant to enhance it. So I agree. It'll be a bit of an experiment for a little bit. But
And then lastly, request for next administrator's report would be an update on the municipal parking complex redesign
Okay.
and possible construction and any funding gaps that may exist for that.
can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. So on item 3, repaving projects, you said there was a few small items that need to be done before they were complete. Can the public review these drawings, especially the ones that are impacted, the residents?
We don't have them yet.
Oh, I know that,
Yeah.
but when they're done,
Yes.
the residents who are going to be impacted by this project, they can come and review these.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, down at the bottom, when you were talking about the stagecoach sweep, is that a recurring thing? Is it?
Yes. So it's something that we started doing back in October, and it's a program offered through Wells Fargo. And what they do is on a nightly basis, they basically borrow the money in our bank account, and we tell them how much they are allowed to take every night. And then they invest that overnight, and then in the morning it's back in our account. And then they give us the dividends. So as you can see, in December, we earned $18,272 from that program.
So what happens to the money then? Does that come back into the budget, or does it go into?
I believe we have a line item set aside so we can track how much of that is coming in, but it does come back into the general fund.
Okay. And I think I think that was about it. Oh, electronic speed signs, since you brought it up. Do we have a timeline for when those solar panels are going to be in so that we can get them activated?
Yeah, they're expected to be in by next Monday. Steve's been tracking them, and delivery is expected sometime between Saturday and Monday. With the storm, I'm guessing probably Monday, and then he'll get working on getting those installed next week.
Thank you.
Councilor Miera.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that I had given a quick call over to you regarding the conversation we had here about a planner.
Mhm.
And then I think we said, well, we put the money in there, but the position's a whole different situation.
Yeah, we never budgeted for it. We budgeted for a contract or an on-call architect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of want to just clear that one up because but when I read through this, I was looking for it right now. I just couldn't find it. I believe that Councilor Woodman name came up. He's asking the same question. You remember talking about that? So
Yeah.
can you, in a nutshell, put it as where we should be going or what's the next step?
Right. Yeah. So we actually had our contractor who does all of our compensation analysis take a look at this for us, and she reviewed several other municipalities. Nobody our size has a dedicated planning position, and it was her recommendation that we not have a position strictly for this because there would not be enough work for that person to do on a full-time day-to-day basis. So it was her recommendation when we have a project, we hire a on-call or a contract person for each individual project. And then that way we can tailor that person's skills to the project.
And well, I agree with that understanding. It was just my concern probably from the very beginning has been the fact that we want to make sure like we will use for instance, we bought all these pieces of property and how they all can work together. We may have one project that might be part of that, but we want to make sure that we never lose sight of the fact that we want to be able to see how all of these projects work together. And could that be done with even one person doing if we call them in for one project at a time?
Well, that's what we had brought Amy Bell in to do last year. And it did, I think, at some point it got a little off track with, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but we ended up with a report on all of the parking spaces and things like that. But it was intended as a way to show how all the properties could work together. And then we kind of ran out of the scope of our service agreement with Main Street. But that was the intent of that is, she did lay out how we could get pathways between each one of the properties, kind of what each property could be used for. And then Mayor Hashimoto and I had a discussion earlier this week, late last week, about possibly putting together an ad hoc committee that could help get some ideas together for each of these properties.
Okay.
So, but just from I don't know, but so the job description of our administrator and our planning and zoning administrator, both those job descriptions list planning for the village in their job description. So it's my job and Lori's job to work together and, take a look at the comprehensive plan, see what the community wants, what are the needs. We have communication all the time with our department heads of, what are your needs? What will give you the best tools to serve our community? And so that's kind of what we do is we take a look at the overall and how does that work with what the community has said that they want.
And with that in mind, the fact the examples that I put out with regards to maybe one or two or three of those working together, but they have one common idea, that would be a good use of that money. She said, no need to hire the whole planner, but that project could be multiple in where it's going. But the fact of the matter is that we probably still need that individual to give us some ideas and support as to exactly how. So that would be an appropriate use of that funds should we decide to entertain that again.
Well, that wouldn't necessarily be the on-call architect. So that's what we have money for is an on-call architect.
Okay.
But if the council wanted to direct us to use it for somebody that could come in and do some designing, I guess it would depend. It could be like a landscape architect or something like that. But yeah, we could possibly use those funds for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Counselor Alsabrook?
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a follow-up to Councilor Meir and Councilor Waldman's comments regarding the planning position. I understand the analysis was that a full-time staff member, wouldn't have enough to fill their days. Was there any consideration to less than a full-time, for instance, a part-time individual?
She didn't mention that, but
The reason I ask is that I agree with the counselors that this is what our previous guidance was trying to communicate, I believe, is that we didn't want a project by project person leading this. That's a jigsaw puzzle that sometimes doesn't look like what the picture on the box is. That what we wanted was someone who has some investment in the village, whether they're a resident or just someone who can provide the continuity that we're looking for in considering things like this. And you mentioned Amy Bell. I appreciate the work she was done, but for what we asked and what our purposes were, for whatever the reasons, the work product that was presented to this governing body was underwhelming. And I don't want to repeat that mistake. So I think we would be, and certainly this is up for future discussion, I think we would be in, it would be considered a good move for us to at least bring in not a project by project person, but the same person who might spearhead projects, be coordinators, almost like a project manager type position, but someone who that understands what our vision is. And could that be from an ad hoc committee? We had a presentation in the community center some months ago about how to tie in the various village properties. And that was a completely volunteer effort. And it was amazing. And yet no output from them has been used for any of our planning purposes yet. And I think that's what this council wants to see. And I certainly don't mean to speak for the other 5 people sitting up here, but that's my impression. And I think it would be theirs as well.
Yep. And that's what the mayor and I have discussed a little bit. And I believe we'll be bringing some ideas to you in the coming weeks on how we can incorporate that feedback from the community and how to utilize the talents of our community, that people that are willing to volunteer for us and help us out.
Councilor Waldman?
Yes, I just want to reiterate, those volunteer architects did a lot of work to put that together. The community center was packed on that Sunday afternoon. And while they may not have gotten the feedback that they were hoping for, it was a terrific presentation. And I think there's it's a very good starting point to move forward.
I do still have all of their plans. So
I'm sorry?
I do still have all of their plans. So
Excellent.
it wasn't completely lost.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay. Right. And then I just invite the council to email me over the next week or so with any questions and updates that you'd like to see for the next administrator's report.
I have one last quick question, if I may, and I'm not sure it's appropriate here, but because it relates to the CAT area reconstruction, is there a timeline when the Angel Hill Tower will be completed?
We don't have a date yet. I know the work groundbreaking, they're hoping to start sometime next week. And then we'll have a better idea of what the timeline will be after that.
So we don't know, once they break ground, how long it'll take to complete that project?
Tanya, do you want to come up? You can use the. Yes, they have to get started on it first.
The company is going to do both. Oh.
Yeah, it'll be quicker than your.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
And there'll be an update in the next.
That begs the question, since they brought up the Angel Hill, are we drilling a well or are we getting water from Rio Rancho?
Chief, do you want to answer that question? We do want to open up some conversations with Rio Rancho to get water from them.
Mayor, Counselor. To answer your question, we looked in the feasibility of a well and the price quotes for the depth that we'd have to go. We don't have 3-phase infrastructure. We only have single phase. So we were reaching out. We're in the process with the administration of discussing with the city of Rio Rancho, because all that property just west of Angel Hill escarpment is under construction. So we're trying to figure out have those conversations with the city to see if we can acquire water from their utility. We would pay for water use. We'd have to meter it. The city would be, City of Rio Rancho would be advising us everything that we need to make sure that we can, if they allow, get water from them, and then we'd pay for, 500,000 gallons of water that to fill up our tank initially. And then if we have a fire and we use more water, it would automatically fill. So that's where we're headed. The well is still an option if the city of Rio Rancho says we can't have an agreement for whatever reason, then we will be looking at drilling a well.
So why can't we get three-phase up there?
The cost. Yep.
Okay.
There is no, so originally when we looked at that site, because it was a village-owned piece of property, utilized it for our 911 communications with the intent of putting one or a couple of tanks. We looked at infrastructure, and to bring in the three-phase power from PNM was going to be very costly because the nearest location on the Corrales side would be at Simpasada, right there by the commercial at Academy. And we'd have to go up Angel Road. And you know how long Angel Road is? It's like a mile. Now the construction is on the other side, west of Angel. I don't know if that subdivisions could be bringing in three-phase power for that. It might be closer now, but it's just going to increase the cost of the project, and we're not funded for it.
Okay. And I guess the other question is, how does this play into our 40-year water plan? Are we going to have to donate a portion of our acre feet to pay for this as well? Or, I mean, this is probably not a question for you, Anthony. It's probably more for the mayor and the administrator.
No, I think that would be separate because it wouldn't be using our water rights. So the 40-year water plan, I mean, we would want to mention it in the 40-year water plan that this is a need for the village in terms of budgeting and things like that, but it wouldn't be part of any one of our permits or anything like that. So
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
unless we put in a well.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
The next item is the Corraleños Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate. To inform the governing body of an issue of concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Teresa, how many speakers we have?
We have 11.
Okay.
Okay, who's
Let's
first?
go on the list.
First one is Bob Eichhorst.
Bob Eichhorst, I live in Corrales. I'd like to congratulate Melanie. I think she's the perfect person. I do find it amusing as all get out that you guys bombarded her with a ton of questions that you never asked the past administrator. I don't know what changed, but you guys have spent over a half an hour asking questions on a written report that included most of the answers to your questions because I read them all. But my main concern is I haven't bought copies from the village for a while. The village was charging $2 a copy. By state law, that is the highest amount allowed. Why are we charging $2 a copy when it costs you less than a quarter a page? It should be 14 cents a page to make a copy. The 40-year water plan. Yeah, I've got a copy machine, but my copies aren't as clear. And it might just be that I'm cheap and don't buy the good paper. I don't know. But I'd love to see the price of copies come down to something reasonable because $2 is the highest amount allowed by law. And I don't think that's reasonable. I think having a written administrative report was great because I read it. I'm tied up a lot because I'm teaching high school classes again, but I try to read, I try to keep up with what's going on, but I can't print out. It was what, 80 pages or 100 pages for this?
119.
Yeah. And I'm not going to pay $238 to make my copies. So I'd love to see that price come down, but I think it's a It's a great way to get the information out there. I appreciate it because I had it before the meeting started. And if I had any heartburn, I would have had an opportunity to ask questions. So I do appreciate it. It is a lot of reading, but like I say, a lot of the questions that you guys asked were answered in her report that was printed. So other than that, thank you for taking the position. I think you're great, Fred.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
And also, we charge $1 per page for a front and back. So it's $1, yeah.
Teresa.
Sam Vigil.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Village Council. My name is Sam Vigil. I am a resident of Corrales. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about a serious growing public concern affecting residents, drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, emergency responders, specifically the conditions on Perea Road and the dangers created by parking along Corrales Road. Perea Road has become increasingly unsafe. The roadway is narrow, poorly maintained in places, and lacks adequate shoulder visibility, is limited, especially in intersections and driveways. Residents using this daily, whether driving, walking, bicycling, riding horses, are forced into close and dangerous proximity with moving vehicles. Emergency access is also a concern. In its current condition, Perea Road presents real challenges to fire trucks, ambulances, law enforcement vehicles that may speed quickly, unobstructed access. Delays or obstacles on the road could have serious consequences in an emergency situation. Equally concerning is the parking along Corrales Road, which has become extremely hazardous. When vehicles are parked along Corrales Road, they block cyclists from everywhere. Trying to pull onto the road from one side of the street or private driveways, drivers are often forced to inch out blindly into traffic traveling at speed. This creates a situation where accidents are not just possible, they are inevitable. This particularly dangerous for residents turning onto Corrales Road, cyclists and pedestrians sharing the roadways, school traffic, and families, and emergency vehicles responding to calls. I respectfully urge the council to evaluate and improve safety conditions on Perea Road and to take decisive action to prohibit or strictly regulate parking along Corrales Road, including signage, enforcement, and physical safety measures where appropriate. Corrales is a community that values safety, responsibility, and quality of life. The issues I've raised are preventable problems with foreseeable outcomes. Waiting until a serious accident occurs should not be a standard for action. I strongly urge the council to act now before someone is hurt, and to demonstrate that public safety in our roads is a priority. Thank you for your time, your service, and your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. And actually, the council is, we're looking at that, and you'll probably see a draft ordinance in the next several meetings or so. So thank you. Next.
Garth Dowling.
Garth Dowling, 7001 Loma Larga Road, Corrales. Good evening, Mayor Hashimoto, Village Council, and interested parties. I came to discuss road safety, specifically in regards to bicycles and motor vehicles. What may initially sound like a complaint, I hope you take away this as an encouragement. I have been at the receiving end of two violent bicycle versus vehicle interactions 15 months apart on Loma Larga Road. For brevity and for legal reasons, I'll keep to the bare bones. In both instances, on August 7th, 2024 and November 14th, 2025, I was only minutes into my ride heading south on Loma Larga Road in the generous designated bicycle lane when I was rudely interrupted by eastbound traffic pulling away from their stop sign from feeder roads into my lane of travel. In the first case, I was taken to UNMH hospital trauma unit where I spent a week, and then another week in a rehab hospital, then 6 weeks in a wheelchair, then a walker, then walking sticks. In the second case, the bicycle took more of the damage than I did. The awesome EMTs, who I'm getting to know pretty well, persuaded me to be transported to the ER. Fortunately, having bumps and bruises physically only, I was back home in 5 hours instead of 2 weeks. In the first instance, the driver was not cited for anything. In the second instance, the driver was cited for making an improper turn. In neither case did the investigating officer ever interview me. Granted, with the more serious accident, I was quickly dispatched to downtown. But in the second, I was in the ambulance at the accident site for quite a while being assessed. I've always assumed a motorist striking a non-motorist was a big deal. As a motorist, I've always felt it's my responsibility to pay extra attention to the more vulnerable users of the road, whether they be on foot, horseback, bicycle, or motorcycle. However, apparently this is not the case. To be fair to our police department, talking with several of my bicycle and attorney friends from around the country, this is not unusual. But Corrales can do better. I know Corrales wants to do better. Let's do better. Plenty in Corrales complain about speeding, but really, compared to the surrounding areas, we're pretty good here. And I got to think that's in large part to everybody knows if you go 2 miles per hour over the speed limit, you will get a ticket. I have no problem with this. And the officer could not have been nicer. Why can a similar approach be made regulating other traffic concerns rather than dismissing so many as, oh, well, stuff happens? We can do better than that. We are better than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next constituent is Carolyn, and I'm sorry, I can't say the last name. It's Wynn. I'm sorry. Please come up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Carolyn Wynn. I stood before you last year to raise concerns about Perea Road and the continued damage caused by heavy vehicles from Tesuque Stucco. Their trucks and heavy equipment move in and out day and night, repeatedly damaging the road and creating safety concerns for the residents who live there. At that time, I asked the village to seriously consider paving the road to address these ongoing impacts. After that meeting, we believed progress was being made when Councilwoman Mel Knight came to sit down with us, residents, to discuss Perea Road. However, since that time, meaningful progress has been difficult to see, and we continue to experience the same conditions day after day. We have since been told that Perea Road is listed as number 20 on the village's ICIP list, which I have no idea what that means, but hopefully you can explain that. While I appreciate that it's included, I'm asking for clarity on what that ranking actually means in practice. Does being number 20 reflect a real priority, or does it mean this issue will continue to be deferred for years? For us, residents living with these conditions every day, that distinction matters. In the meantime, we have asked for very basic, reasonable measures, such as law enforcement enforcing existing traffic and parking laws on Perea Road, or even posting a simple no parking sign to improve safety and access. Yet nothing has been done, and we are now nearing a year since these concerns were first raised. At the same time, the village has approved another commercial development directly across from Tesuque Stucco on Perea Road. There is now signage advertising lease availability for businesses and restaurants. Anyone familiar with this area knows how congested and unsafe it already is. Approving additional commercial uses without first addressing road condition, traffic flow, or safety further demonstrates that business interests are being prioritized over the residents who live there. I also noticed that tonight's agenda included a draft ordinance discussing no parking, and I understand that this item relates to the Sandia Bar area. However, this is precisely the type of solution us residents on Perea Road requested from the beginning, seeing action moving forward for our business area while similar concerns raised by residents remain unaddressed. Reinforces the perception that businesses are being prioritized over the people who live here. Anyone familiar with Perea Road, again, knows how congested it is. Tasuka Stucco's operating bring large trucks and heavy equipment through the area daily, often blocking roads and creating hazardous conditions without enforcement or signage. These issues continue unchecked. So I ask respectfully and plainly, who is being protected? Residents who live with the daily impacts of this traffic or commercial interests that continue to expand? I'm asking for accountability, consistency, and concrete action. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next person is Raul Vigil of 35 North Police Perea Road.
Thank you. My name is Raul Vigil. I live off of Perea Road as well. I feel like I'm going to repeat a lot of what's already been said, so I'm going to kind of go off script a little bit and just talk about my experience off Perea Road. So Perea Road, first off, I want to say thank you for acknowledging the fact that something needs to be done about it. I think a lot of the concern is that there's not a dollar amount on that list of projects when it comes to the Perea Road paving project. I want to express my support for paving this road. And I'm going to explain just a little bit real quickly why, as a certified law enforcement of almost 23 years, I've investigated multiple different types of crashes, dirt roads, on the highway, paved, injury, non-injury crashes. And I can tell you that paving the road would make it much more safe. I can also talk a little bit about my experience as I have to travel that road. And I would ask yourself to imagine yourself in my position. When you're trying to leave to work, Tasuka Stucco employees block the road. You have to plan for that. They use their trailers, their employees, and then their equipment. And then imagine yourself trying to come home at 3 p.m., maybe for lunch, and the road's blocked again because they are unloading materials from a flatbed truck and using a forklift without any cones, without anybody in a yellow vest, another safety issue. Then coming home, when all the employees are coming home and having to deal with them unloading their materials, their employees, right? It gets a little frustrating. And I think the neighbors are starting to gather together, and we've come to a consensus. We really need your support. You're our voice. We depend on you. Congratulations, by the way, on your election, but it comes with a great responsibility, right? And we're asking you to choose us over commercial business. Carolyn made a great point. Another concern that we have is the rail cart place. They're getting ready to open their doors for retail space. The main concern about this issue is that all these access points, although the storefronts are on the Corrales Road, their entry and exit points are off Perea Road. So do you see how this creates the problem? So that's what we're asking. We're, again, respectfully asking you to keep this on the list. We're respectfully asking you to make it a priority. And we would like to see a dollar amount dedicated to that. We would like to see that the state be asked for funding, or if there's another way we can do this, but we really would love that support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for letting us know your concerns regularly. Teresa?
Tyler Muxworthy of 202 Perea Road.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm Tyler Muxworthy. I live at 202 Perea Road. I want to give a very quick recap. This is very short and sweet, but since 2011, there have been efforts to pave Perea Road. At one point, it was actually going to be funded by people who lived on Perea Road, and Corrales went to court and fought in court to say that Corrales owned Perea Road and it was a public road, and blocked the ability for it to get paved. Fast forward to December of 2024, Corrales actually incorporated Perea Road into Corrales and made it a public road. So it was blocked for 11 years from being paved by somebody else on their dime. And now that it is incorporated, we've been fortunate enough to get it on the ICIP list, which is a great step in the right direction. But in recognizing the funding request to the legislature up in Santa Fe, it's noted that Coronado Road and Reclining Acre be repaved. So existing pavement be taken off. New pavement be laid down, which I'm all in favor for. But there's a little bit of irony and frustration there in that we're a road that doesn't have pavement to begin with. We're dealing with safety concerns, flooding, speeding, and we're not being addressed in the current legislature and just getting pushed further ahead. There have been comments in the past. We've been here together requesting this, and there have been comments in the past from council members that I agree with. The idea of putting down additional water lines and things that might be beneficial for future use. My fear is that with all of the now 12 roads that have been paved or repaved in the last 5 years ahead of Perea Road, none of that has been requested or needed. I want to make sure that if we decide to move forward with those additional requests and new requirements to pave a road, that we don't make that something that also holds up the process. At this point in time, I'd really like to ask that the council and the mayor put an agenda item on the legislative requests that includes a monetary amount associated with getting Perea Road paved. I was told to go to the legislators up in Santa Fe and ask for this, but I feel like it would be a silly thing for me to do if Corrales isn't backing what I'm asking for. I'm happy to put in the effort, but I need your backing to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe council decides on I see IP listings sometime in the late spring, doesn't it?
Usually April.
And it's usually finalized in July-ish. And so, yeah, stay tuned. Next.
Bill Perkins of 5768 Corrales Road.
Based on previous discussion, I'd like to pass.
Okay. Amanda Wolf of 110 Nikki Lane. Same. Eric Johnson of 3871 Corrales Road.
Good evening. I have nothing to say about Perea Road except for it's hard to get around on Perea Road. It really is. Tonight, I think that we're changing the tone from last year to this year, and I really appreciate that. And I just want to recognize the work it takes to be a counselor, a council person, and the mayor. I helped elect a new mayor because I wanted to have more of the residents' input listened to. I think that was a big consideration. Last meeting, at the P&Z meeting, that kind of half happened. The committee really wants a lower buildable area, which led to our administrator Stout giving an example. Her example was of 2 homes that everybody points at as maybe being over the buildable area. Well, they ended up being 0.12 and 0.18. And Ms. Stout's argument was that, well, we don't need to change the 0.35 to a 0.25 as suggested by the citizens, because these 2 big homes are only at 0.12 and 0.18. But she missed the point completely because she's pro-built. If they were 0.35, they'd be twice as bad, 3 times as bad. So 0.25, as suggested by the community, was fair. Both of those big homes would have fit into that just fine. Myself, I really like your FAR. You know, there's sizing that comes into. So my argument is that 1 acre, it goes to 0.20. Both of those monster homes would have been just fine. And under that, then we need to make different considerations, like at 0.35. So when you listen, got to listen close, because her argument was actually the opposite. She wasn't arguing for a bigger area, even though that's where she stood. But you did have Sun Mountain come here, prodigious builder, 55 homes. And she had Community Scientist Corporation come here, a very, very much a commensurate professional. However, he at this point in time has 5 clients pending before our administrator Stout. An administrator is not to be a political basis for favoritism. So if we could, in the next 4 years, be a little more sensitive as to who's talking to us from what place. For example, well, why was the pre-survey so much builder oriented? That's because anytime you say the word zoning, you're going to have builders show up. You're going to have realtors say things. You're going to have people outside the community come forward first. And that's exactly what happened. But what our citizens did was right.
Thank you. Next, Teresa.
Tara Trafton on Zoom.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for having me, Mayor, councilors, and Administrator Romero. My name is Tara Trafton. I'm building my house at 5311 Corrales Road. I'm a fifth generation Coraleño, and I want to just thank the council and welcome the new administrator and mayor, and for all of the work that you do. I'm here in particular to just make sure that Salsi Park stays at the forefront. I'm a member of the family, and I just want to make sure that this is something we all focus on. You can see it behind me. It's pretty desolate and barren, and Tanya has done a wonderful job securing a grant to help us improve it. So I just want to mention to everyone that we would really love continued support to make sure that we see some improvement at the park. Also, I just want to say quickly, I really like the new format of the report as well, the administrator report. I do think that it's going to achieve its goal and get more public engagement. So that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tara. Next, Teresa.
Teresa Lopez of Corrales.
So again, and this is just going to be short and sweet. I thank all of you guys, but this looks amazing up here. And what you're doing, again, I remember I talked to you at night, one night, and I said, you say what's in your heart, and you got to keep that up. Okay? And you, Fred, you guys look great up there. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Next, Teresa.
That is it.
Okay. Moving right along, the next item is Councilors Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate to inform the governing body of an issue of concern that will not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. Any councilor would like to speak? Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to follow up on some of the issues about, especially Garth's comment about the safety of pedestrians, equestrians, and so forth, bicyclists. Mr. Cog, the Metropolitan Transportation Board, passed the Regional Transportation Safety Action Plan. That is to put pedestrians at the forefront of safety because our state is the worst. So I think we need to take a look at that and maybe see how we can incorporate that into the village. Also, Randy, where we stand on the Uniform Traffic Code, I think you were working on that on a new copy.
Well, we have two things going on with that. We are working on adopting, new amendments to the Uniform Traffic Code, and there were some changes made by the municipal league that were we believe not appropriate for Corrales. So we're looking at those changes, working with the police department, and we hope to have that draft done. Melanie, what was the latest?
We had on our announcements, we have it listed as possible for February 10th, but I'm not sure if
So it's coming, and at the same time, we're also in conjunction with that working on our fee schedules to make sure those are up to date and all proper. So all the fees, penalties connected with traffic violations.
Okay. And I don't know if Lori can attest to this. Now, I thought all of our commercial activities were supposed to be frontage on Corrales Road. And so why is Perea Road different?
We have a number of commercial properties where their traditional access, thinking of Meadowlark, there was one on Perea Road, and getting new access off of Corrales Road these days from NMDOT, if there's an established alternative, is very difficult. But there are some businesses in Corrales right now who do access off of side roads.
Well, I understand. NMDOT really doesn't even know what they have in terms of access off of Corrales Road. I think they haven't done an inventory in a long time. So I know it was a permitting process, supposed to be annual, but I don't think they followed through with that.
Well, I can tell you, Counselor, that right now there are a couple of projects in the works, and I personally have met with NMDOT trying to help streamline the process, but they are very active on commercial connections to Corrales Road, very active and aware.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor, we have a meeting scheduled with NMDOT for tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. And one of the things that is on the agenda is an update. They're doing a safety assessment of Corrales Road. And one of the things they are looking at is all of the entrances to and from, driveways along Corrales Road. And that will play into what the recommendations are for Corrales Road. But yeah, as Lori said, it's hard for a business to get an access off of Corrales Road if they're able to access the business off of a side road. NMDOT will make them use the side road.
Councilor Burkett and then Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say this publicly about Perea Roast, something to look into, just so more people are looking into it than me, is we had a discussion several years back about a liquor license there. And in that discussion, it came up that Perea Road is considered a designated safe route to school. And there may be some impact as far as enforcement capabilities on a road that has that designation as far as what can and can't happen on that. I will look into it. But if you guys have time, and you certainly have, it seems, the desire, I would go down that pathway, look up the safe routes to school. I believe that is a designated, nationally recognized part of the program, Safe Route to School, and see what requirements come with that designation. So maybe it'll be a path that leads to somewhere that forces our hand to do something that otherwise may take a long time.
So actually, I've been working with the NMDOT again. They have a Safe Routes to School coordinator.
Yep.
And I've been working with her. So we don't have a designation anymore because most of our routes were along MRGCD property.
Okay.
So I spoke with her about, what can we do, and I've talked to MRGCD a little bit as well. They are not happy with creating any kind of a map that would designate MRGCD property as any kind of a safe route to push people to use it. So I'm currently working with them. They have meetings once a month on, I think it's the first Friday of the month. And I'm speaking with other communities trying to get some ideas on how we can go about getting a Safe Routes to School designation back in the village.
Okay, because I can see minutes from the master plan, the trail master plan in 2009, and I believe Sandy Rasmussen was the representative from Safe Routes to School at that point in time.
Yep.
And then I can see another, I think in late 2010s, where we received $25,000 to further implement that program.
Yep.
So I would be curious how that all just goes away if there was clearly a lineage of us having that program and then future funding to support that program. Did they just say that we've abandoned it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
No.
sure how it went away. I just know that we don't have it at the moment. And I think it was Elena Kayak had come to us about 4 years ago and asked us to start looking into it again.
Yeah.
And it's been an uphill battle. But
Okay.
but I am attending monthly meetings trying to get some ideas on how we
In
can do
those
that.
meetings, I would love to get the history of what we did have.
Yeah.
And if it did go away, what the mechanism was for it to go away. So
I'll see what I can find out.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I was under the impression that Tasuke Stucco was asked to go into their yard to drop off their equipment or, to take the bags or whatever, the stucco off the big semis rather than doing it on Perea Road. Has that stopped or was that ever stopped? Because again, I was under the impression that they were requested to do that. So can we maybe give them a reminder if they're forgetting that that we approached them before? Because I know there was a problem with, their men, parking on the side of the street. And I know, again, that they kind of addressed that where they park by the church. But yeah, I could see where if you can't, go down to your street because there's these big semis there, that they need to pull into their lot.
Right. Well, now we have a code enforcement officer, and I think he will prove very valuable in looking at issues like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we can ask Dennis to take a look at that.
Thank you. Councilor Waldman, Mira.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had put my hand up earlier to talk about what you talked about. The fact that I've had a lot of calls that I'm sure you've all been wondering about, because we had a lot of discussion about our meetings with the DOT, and they were ongoing. We missed 1 month of meeting because it was during that somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but we're on that line again. And so thank you for bringing your concerns, took note of them. And thank you very much, Councilor Brigette, with regards to Safe Ride to Schools. I think I'll make a phone call tomorrow, because the other people that should be involved in and always were APS. And so there's no reason that APS, we know we have an APS school here, but APS should be involved in them as well. So I probably will talk. And in fact, I talked with the individual who's now the chair for APS to look into that one. But that Safe Route to School, I just can't remember why it should just come off again. But could you as you can remember, real briefly, our meeting come Wednesday tomorrow. We had that on the agenda. What other two things? Because we have some people listening in, especially from the north end. They're excited about how we're finally getting together, but we do have to have some time limit, as many of you called and told me, this governor is about ready to come out. So, we got to make sure that we're going to get what we can out of Ricky Serna while we still can.
Yeah.
So you got anything brief about what we're going to be doing tomorrow?
I don't have a timeline yet, but I'm hoping they'll give us one tomorrow on that safety evaluation. And that was going to address some of the issues up on the north end of the village. I think they were also working on getting a contract with a tree removal service to take down those trees that are a real hazard. And then the other thing that they are looking at is they are looking at the intersection of Meadowlark and Corrales Road. And I don't know that the community is going to be super happy with this, but they are looking at the possibility of putting in a stop sign along Corrales Road, or possibly a roundabout or a traffic light. So, and we won't have any input on what they decide. It will be decided by their engineers and what they feel is the safest. So, but that's where also how it will impact the flow of people coming in and out of Corrales Road will be looked at.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on what you just said about DOT and what they may intend to do with the intersection of Meadowlark and Corrales Road, that's exactly the kind of external, uninformed influence that none of us want to have. And I think this is one more leg in the argument of us taking over Corrales Road from the DOT. And I know it's complex, and I know we want to have it improved so that we don't get it and have to immediately spend $8 million repaving it, and all of those things come into play. But this is exactly why we want local control.
And the meeting is open tomorrow, isn't it?
No.
No, it isn't
No.
open.
No.
It's not Zoomable or not?
No.
No, okay.
No. But I will give an update in the administrator's report about everything we discuss for the next meeting on February 10th.
And I will be at that meeting.
Yeah.
So whereabouts is the meeting? Is it in the conference room?
It's in the conference room at Village Hall.
And it's not Zoom.
No, they provide a link, but it's more for their team that can't come out to the village. So,
Actually, I had two questions. One to Lori. How many new home building permits were issued last year?
I think there were about 20.
Okay. It wasn't listed. And our comment to Chief Vic, it's come up multiple times that the crime and safety report is really valuable. But usually the people who are cited for DWI particularly seem to be from out of the village.
That's right.
Is that the way it is, or are villagers cited too, or caught, but yeah, many people comment on, the people who are cited for DUI are mostly from outside the village.
That's because Corleños are good people. And they don't do that.
Right.
Mayor, Councilor, Council Administrator Romero, we are an equal opportunity enforcement agency. So we don't pick and choose. It is kind of random, but as far as the DWI arrests, in recent history, they all have been non-residents. And as far as speeding citations go, I don't have hard numbers for you, but I think the majority have been non-residents in recent history as well. Christina has run some reports and done some research for us in that respect. I don't know if it's just a matter of familiarity as far as the residents being more aware of the speed limits on different roads and throughout different portions of the village, or like Melanie said, just trying to behave a little better and be good neighbors.
Actually, the Michelle Frechette, our village judge, told me that most of the speeding tickets are from non-residents, but they're from people who come in and then leave. So they're not non-residents passing through, but they're non-residents that come and leave the same day. In fact, about 800 vehicles come into the village every day and leave the village. So they're not passers-throughers. They're coming in and doing services, they're delivering items, and they just speed. And so she said that most of the speeding tickets tend to be from non-residents, but most of those non-residents are people who are coming and going, not the passer-throughers.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
I'm glad we're good people. Anyway, moving right along. Consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? It passes. The next item, new business, confirmation of appointed officials. I believe I nominate and the council approves. Is that right?
So yeah, so we'll start with Police Chief Vic.
Okay. Well, Chief Vic, the appointment as Chief of Police. I nominate him for another term. Any questions for Chief Vic?
Mayor, I move to approve the reappointment, of Chief Mandracopper as Chief of Police.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much.
And I would also nominate Melanie Romero to be administrator. May I have a second, please, for her appointment?
Second.
Or motion. Motion first.
Yeah, we need a motion.
And then a second.
Melanie Romero, be the new village administrator.
And a
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Melanie.
Yeah.
And the third village official I get to appoint is clerk. And since Melanie was clerk and is now administrator, we've we're going to interview people for the clerk position.
Yep, we have interviews scheduled on Thursday and Friday this week. So
So,
perhaps we'll have that appointment on the next agenda.
yeah, so
Fingers crossed.
yeah, we'll have a full house.
And in the meantime, I'll still be serving as clerk. So if anybody has questions, please feel free to reach out. And I will still be available to you, even if I am not clerk. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
The next item is selection of mayor pro tem by the governing body. Councilor Waldman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councilor Miera for the position of Mayor Pro Tem. With 24 years of state legislative experience, he retains excellent contacts at the State House and with the executive branch, as well as 4 years with this body. I call for a vote for his nomination.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor of Councilor Miera
We,
being,
we should probably do that one as a roll call vote.
okay, roll call, being Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Murray,
Yes.
Councilor Burkett,
Yes.
Councilor Alsabrook,
Yes, and I wish the counselor all the luck I've had in previous administrations. Yeah.
Councilor Knight,
Aye.
Councilor Waldman,
Aye.
Councilor Miera.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Councilor Miera. Glad to have you as Mayor Pro Tem.
Don't be gone too often.
Next item, consideration, action and approval of resolution 2601, adopting government body rules of procedure. This is sort of our Robert's Rules of Order and Open Meetings Act sort of rolled into one. It's really important. This is how we do business. And actually, last week I attended a municipal league training for new officials, and we heard a lot about rules of procedure, and I think Corrales is just superb in its rules. And talking to other municipalities who don't quite have such rules, council meetings certainly can become very chaotic and unruly. And so I'd recommend approving the rules for procedure. May I have a motion?
I so moved, and on that point, I've also noticed by reading it, these are almost exactly, if not exactly, what the rules that we use up in the state legislature for movement of bills from one chamber to the next. And this is perfectly done, and I'm really proud of the fact that Corrales has put this together, and now I strongly support it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilor Murray.
So to put Councilor Miera on the hot seat, so in the pro tem is actively being running the meeting, is he still have voting rights?
Yes.
So if there was a tie between all the counselors, then the motion would fail, whatever it is, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be clarified.
That's the way it goes. Just tie votes or no.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to pass it or you don't.
Right.
And so, did we vote on this?
Yeah, so we have a motion and a second, and now we just need a roll call vote.
Can I-
roll call vote?
One quick question, sorry, and this is just an administrative question. On the agenda item request form, it specifically lists Melanie address, her email address, and designates her as the clerk. Do we need to change that, or do we want to have a general clerk email address we don't have to change this every time the name of the clerk changes? Because currently it says directly to the clerk and it has
Right.
your email address. So I think we need to sort out that because it's currently inaccurate because you're no longer the clerk.
Okay.
And you probably don't want those emails.
I mean, I can forward them, but yeah, no, I think we could amend it to just, forward it to the clerk and everybody would know. I mean, I would assume everybody would know who that is on the council.
Randy?
Mayor and everyone, I think the easiest thing to do would be to delegate to the administrator clerical changes like that, where no substance is changing, but if we get a new clerk's name could be inserted. So that might just be part of the motion.
Councilor Murray?
Well, that brings up the question then, why don't we just use aliases for the departments and for the clerk and so forth? So that way, whoever comes in or it changes, it still goes to them, but it's an alias on the email. So it'd be clerk@Carlson.
We did that for a while, and I'm not sure why we moved away from it, other than our email is tied to our ability to log into our systems. So we have to have an individual one. But we can certainly look into that with our IT to because we can have more than one email directed to our Outlook inbox. So, we could certainly do that.
From a public records perspective, it's much better to have emails tied to an individual because they're easier when you're doing searches.
That's true.
And when there's transitions happening, it's much better to have it tied to an individual so we can respond to public records requests.
Thank you, Randy.
True. I did just get an IPRA request right before Christmas asking for all of your emails.
Awesome.
That was a fun one to
Send them all the junk stuff first that we get.
but yeah, no, they when I told them that IT said it was over 300 emails, they said, "Oh goodness, no, let me narrow that down. I want it to this specific topic." And I said, "Thank you so much," because then it was more like 50 emails. So
When you, Mr. Mayor, she brings up a very good point. And while you're on that point, just for the public in general and just for ourselves, as we well know, how important that is. And I'm glad you shared that with me, that, I use my phone and talk to somebody and or my personal computer and send out an email. That becomes open. Everything in that computer becomes open. If you just briefly go through that, I mean, that's really important.
yeah, you really should be using your village email for any village business. And that also brings up the point of ex parte communication. It's perfectly fine for, and residents should reach out to you as their elected officials. But if you're having conversations with them where it makes it sound like you've already decided on an issue, you should probably avoid that. There's nothing wrong with you asking questions. There's nothing wrong. I know in the past, some of you have met with a constituent, and then when the topic comes up, you all say, "Hey, just for transparency's sake, I met with these people and we had a discussion about X, Y, and Z." And that's exactly what you should do, just make sure that the community knows that, yes, you talk to the people involved in this appeal, this topic, this, ordinance, this resolution, whatever. Just so it is apparent that you're not making decisions outside of this arena.
My position is really changed, and what I say is changed from when I was a campaigner. When I was a campaigner, I certainly gave opinions about what I felt and where I thought the village ought to go and decisions. But because of ex parte, I can listen, but I cannot take a stance, because if I take a stance, basically, I'm taking a stance perhaps before public opinion, public input is given. So if I take a stance 3 days ago on an item that's going to be discussed today, and if it doesn't go the way people want it to go, they can say you took a stance before you heard all public opinion on the item. And so now, I mean, I can listen, but I really can't say what I feel sometimes, because I'm taking a stance before adequate and appropriate public input is offered. Yes, Randy.
And Mayor, just the point really is emphasized when you get to quasi judicial proceedings.
Yeah.
We hear liquor licenses and all the land use cases. When a case is coming up through the process and it becomes very public, let's say it's a controversial issue, and a new business that's going to have a liquor license. Well, when it might come to you on, let's say, a zone change application, you can't have any communications with those parties, because you've put your wig on and your long black robe, and you have to become judges in that case. So it's even more important to watch ex parte. And then the other issue I wanted to emphasize about, it gets really messy. It's sometimes easier. I know it's a real drag to carry 2 cell phones or have 2 email accounts, but always do your public business on your public email account, because we have to get your cell phone and get your permission to talk to the provider to see if there are any documents responsive to the IPRA request if you intermix all of your emails. And it's a nightmare. So just really keep all of your public business on your village cell phone or email.
It was strongly recommended that we all public officials carry 2 cell phones.
Yeah.
One where you have public business and one where you have personal business. Because if you use only your personal cell phone, somebody can ask for that personal cell phone for evidence, and then your texts and your messages and addresses and everything else is available for somebody else to see. So we were strongly advised to carry 2 cells, and probably half the people who are at the officers who are at the conference carry 2 cells, And it's sort of a nuisance to carry two signs,
It is.
but it keeps things clean. It separates church and state, and it's just a safer way to go.
I like to pretend I'm, in the Old West and I can take them both out. So,
Can I ask a quick question about this? And this isn't the proper conversation for it, but we need to have it at some point. Is the recent email upgrades we've made have made this much more difficult. So you can no longer, if you have your village email through Outlook, you can't have any other email account through Outlook because of the new security standards and so the solution I got from Systems MD was that I can only check my village emails in incognito mode. So that is literally what I was told by IT was put your computer in incognito mode.
So what I've started doing is I use Edge for one and Google Chrome for the other.
Well, I have a computer that you guys got for me years ago that's never left the village offices, but I'm seriously starting to think that maybe I do need a second cell phone in lieu of this computer that I've not touched once, to separate the two worlds. And because right now I'm not nearly as responsive as I used to be because I don't get the emails. I have to go actively seek them out now instead of them coming to my phone, which is a nuisance. So I need to find a solution to that.
Okay.
We
can definitely look at getting you a village cell phone and any other council member that would like one.
I hate having one phone. I dread having
Yeah.
two.
Can it be a Samsung trifold?
Jitterbugs.
The one with the big numbers on it.
We need a roll call for rules of procedure.
Right.
Councilor Miera?
That's it.
Oh, no, yeah, we're voting on approving of the rules of procedure. Was your vote yes?
We had a motion and a second.
Yes, sir.
We're just going to roll call. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Rollman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Alsabrook?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett?
Aye.
Councilor Murray?
Aye.
Motion passes. Good. The next is consideration for action and approval of resolution 2602 for ordinance 2601, providing for the rezoning of map 18, lot 17-A-1, Village of Corrales, Sandoval County, New Mexico, from A1 agricultural and rural residential to C neighborhood commercial. Lori, you want to?
No, that was my bad. That it should be
A1 to A2.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's, and I'm not quite sure how that slipped through. My sincerest apologies. I do believe that the resolution itself has the correct title, but what we're doing is we're moving a lot line to shore up the division between A1 and A2. And I think Lori can explain.
Sure. Usually, counselors, when you see a zone change request, it's to change an entire parcel of land from one to another. This is not that. This is simply a boundary. There's currently a boundary that matches the old county line, and the property owners would like both the lot boundary and the zoning to be a 90-degree angle, and thus not having dual zoning. And it's important to note that there's not an advantage being given here. Equal amount of A1 is becoming A2 and vice versa. It did go before planning and zoning, and they did unanimously approve it to be forwarded to you.
And Randy, since I messed up on the agenda, can we still vote on this tonight?
I think the ordinance was attached as part of the agenda and the draft ordinance is correct. So I think.
And the resolution in the packet was correct as well.
Unless there's an objection from any interested person that was fooled into thinking it was one thing, I think because the ordinance has already been published and it was posted and it's been heard before, this is the second reading in the proper form.
This is the first reading.
Oh, so this is just a.
Yeah, this is to publish the notice that it'll be heard on February.
As long as we publish that notice correctly,
Okay.
I think we're fine.
Okay, thank you. And again, my apologies for.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
real quick
Councilor
question.
Miera, sorry.
This is only gonna pertain to when you have those Sandoval County and Bernalillo County or whatever or with specific to the Corrales, it's only gonna happen those few times that the county line interferes, right? It doesn't have any other kind of effect on any other kind of properties.
Correct. It's just this one boundary in this request from an old, skewed corner angle, making it straight. It's just these two pieces of land.
And you showed it to us very well. I just wanted to make sure that this only has to do with this one time, but also it only has to do with Bernalillo County, Sandoval County.
Yeah, and it's all Sandoval County now. It's the old county line.
Okay.
And just to clarify, good question, Counselor. And Lori, it is only one lot. It's one corner that separates two lots. Is that correct?
It's a boundary between two tracts.
Yeah. And that won't apply anywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this will be heard at another meeting for approval. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be heard at the meeting on February 24th. Because of our noticing requirements, we have to have almost a month in between when we do this and then actually hear the ordinance.
So do we need to approve the publish and posting, or is it?
Yes, so we need a motion to approve the resolution to publish the notice.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Murray?
All right, Mayor, I've got some technical things that I need to straighten out on page 122, where there's more detail about what the boundaries are going to be. The original, up on page 121, you specify the Old County line as being 309 feet and 77 hundredths. And then down below, you show, at least it looks like to me, from the intersection of the new boundary to the northern boundary as being 155.15. That doesn't compute because the 309 feet, if you divide that by 2, that's not 155 feet. So there's some errors that are creeping into this. I mean, it may only be a half a foot, but I think it's going to create some issues as well. Plus, I didn't find any measurements on the lower triangle.
Are you talking about the maps
Yes,
of
on top
existing conditions?
122, there is a map. And
Our packet only goes to page 119.
well, it's Exhibit A. And
Okay, so that's page 118, 116, sorry.
well, it's 122 on mine, but
Okay.
anyway, the drawing, I'm a little concerned that there wasn't enough look at the triangles to make sure that if they are both equal, if they are both 0.1092, the triangles are not going to be the same because I don't think the midpoint adds up on either.
So you're saying the triangles are not congruent?
Well, it depends on whether the north and south boundaries are parallel. Now, we don't even have a total boundary, a total length of the new boundaries. You only show 68 feet to the midpoint on the north side. You don't show a total of the entire boundary. So now how do you compute the boundaries for the triangle on the south side of the property?
Administrator, may I address this?
Go ahead.
So, so the plat hasn't happened yet, and it's the plat changing that lot boundary or tract boundary
was contingent upon approval of the zoning boundary so that they don't end up with a dual zoning situation. But equal amounts of A1 and A2 are being transferred, so to speak.
Yeah, but you're not showing all the boundary distances.
They're not. The New Mexico licensed surveyor just made that for visual purposes for this zone change.
Well, if
It's
I'm
not
gonna
a plat.
If I'm going to put my name on this and vote for it, I want to make sure things are correct as for the zone change. I don't have a problem with the zone changes per se, but when you bring something before me, I hope it's correct.
I hope so too. And a New Mexico licensed surveyor did this and assured me that equal amounts of land are becoming A1 to A2 and vice versa.
Councilor Burkett.
So I appreciate it, Mayor. My understanding is, and I would feel the same way as a property owner, before I invested the time, money, and energy in getting this replatted, which is not going to be cheap, they wanted to at least get the consent of the council that in principle, we agree with this happening. And I think we can certainly put the asterisks on it that we agree with it happening as so long as equal amounts are platted to both of the zoning. But this would be an expensive thing to do, to come and us say no to.
Well, I think that if a surveyor is going to come out and bring something before council, it should be correct. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Thank you, Mayor. So when something like this, so there's a written description and then there's an illustration, which takes precedence? Because the written description does describe the acreage to 4 decimal places, and that is also shown on the drawing, but the linear dimension is missing from one of them. But I'm just, if the acreage is enough to suffice, or if the written description is enough to suffice.
Well, the ordinance says that the governing body is approving the zone map for the Village of Corrales boundary between map 21, tract 11A and map 18, tract 145 be realigned to a 90-degree angle as shown and as approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their December 17th, 2025 meeting. So that's what the ordinance that you will be approving says.
Okay, right. So the
So
ordinance, as we're asked to approve it, does not state that this is basically an equal swap or anything like that.
I think it is in the whereases though. Yes, the second whereas an equal amount of A1 zoned land area will become A2 and vice versa.
That's it.
Yeah, so it is in the ordinance.
So should we have a different motion or an appended motion?
I think with that in there, it seems like it covers it.
Okay.
I think it's legally sufficient. It got confusing, and the clarification is this isn't a replat and that we're looking at here. This is a rezoning that's going to be subject to the replat where the actual transfer of the land will occur.
Okay, any more discussion?
It's just for
Teresa, could you read what the motion is?
The consideration and approval of resolution 26-2. Publication for ordinance 26-1, providing for the rezoning of map 18.
But the wording on the agenda is incorrect. So the motion is actually that we approve resolution 2602 to publish and post or publish a notification for ordinance 2602.
Here it is. Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2601. So sorry, this is ordinance 2602.
Yep.
Resolution. It's getting
discussion and approval. This is
yes. So this is consideration, action, and approval of resolution 2602, publication for ordinance 2601, and then it should be, if you look at the actual resolution that's in the packet, directing the publication of a notice of meeting and intent to consider adoption of ordinance 2601, providing for the amendment of the village zone map to change the existing A1 and A2 zone boundary between map 21, tract 11A, and map 18, tract 145B.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion then? All in favor, say aye.
For a resolution, it has to be a roll call vote.
Oh, okay. Councilor Mira,
Yes, sir.
Councilor Waldman,
Aye.
Councilor Knight,
Aye.
Councilor Alsobrook,
Aye.
Councilor Burkett,
Aye.
Councilor Murray.
Yes.
Good. Next item, discussion and direction to address Rio Rancho traffic cameras inside Village of Corrales village limits. Councilor Alsobrook, this was your suggestion? If you wanted to.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just passing out 2 items that I didn't assemble in time to put in the packet for councils and mayors and administrators' convenience. Basically, as some of our citizens have brought up in Carleños Farms, there's a traffic monitoring camera on Upper West Meadowlark on the north side that is inside the boundary of Corrales, the Village of Corrales, and it is operated or controlled by the city of Rio Rancho. So I was in the items I just handed out is a relevant email exchange between myself and the Carissa Colbert, who's the Rio Rancho City Councilor for the district just on the other side of our boundary. And then the second one is a possible source of where the error came from our favorite office of the Sandoval assessors.
Got problems.
The long and short of it is, as you can see from what the Rio Rancho Councilor Culberth's email, the camera was incorrectly placed by the contractor. So the camera is not where they asked it to be, and the camera is on Village of Krause property. So there are two things I'd like to consider here. Perhaps one is for tonight and one is for a different time. One is what to do about the camera. And in that regard, the counselor said, let me know your thoughts. If there isn't formal documentation, then they can work to provide that, or alternatively, they'll work with the vendor to have it moved. The second item that we may want to discuss is in the counselor's email also refers to Rio Rancho Police Department's, and this is, again, this is phone tag, so who knows what the actual conversations were. This is being relayed to me by the counselor. Her email says, our Rio Rancho PD spoke with Chief Manager Capra and he okayed the camera remaining there as it could benefit Krause as well. It also seems that there may have been a discussion with Krause Planning and Zoning regarding the placement. So I don't know what that means. I don't have transcripts or anything like that, but there is probably a discussion of how issues like this could be handled in the future and who is authorized specifically to make, to declare things are allowed or not. So that may be for a different discussion, and that's fine. But tonight, I think the main one is to give direction to the mayor about what to do about the camera as it exists right now.
Do you want a little history of the cameras? We did talk about it in our staff meeting.
It'd be great, but the only warning the chief had is what was on the agenda, so I don't want to blindside him with it.
Yeah, no, I made him aware of this when I got your email, so he is prepped and ready. So please.
Well, that's great.
Mayor, Council, Administrator Romero, thank you. Yeah, so I certainly didn't approve the camera going up. That's not my place.
I assume that as much.
So in any event, the one facing the traffic exit in Krause that's actually within the village limits was placed there in the spring of 2023. So we're going on 3 years. And when I first noticed it, I did have a conversation with the police administration up there, and they explained to me that it is in fact it's a flock camera. It's not a speed camera. It's essentially an enhanced license plate reader. So it doesn't just capture the alphanumerics of the license plate. It also captures a photograph of the vehicle. And if they sign the standard flock camera contract, it's retained for 30 days, then it's auto purged unless it's downloaded for use in a criminal case. That being said, it was the vendor that they were told to place it on the Rio Rancho sides at a specific location, and they got there and it was a concrete sidewalk, and they took the path of least resistance and went 20 feet the other direction and put it in the soft soil. Well, it's not that soft, but just the soil and dirt on our side of the line. They did ask me if it was an obstruction in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't to me. It wasn't to Public Works. So that was the end of that conversation. But yeah, that obviously, like we agreed, there was no approval process or anything down here. I don't know if I'm sure if the village, if the governing body requested that it be moved, that they would do so. And just as a heads up, we've had conversations with the flock vendor as well, discussing, the possible benefits to the village, but it's, when we reach that point, we'll be having a formal discussion in this room. It's not something that the police department would just do on their own. Yeah.
And so this is slightly tangential. Is this a flock camera that's out here?
No, that is just like when you turn on the news and they show a live feed of the weather.
Any intersection or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, the cameras out here were placed by the village with the intention of having a streaming camera, and apparently there's are two definitions of streaming for IT, and what we asked for and what they gave us were two different things. And so I'm working with another contractor so that we can get that up on our website so people can, log in from all over the world and see what Corrales Road is doing. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Councilor,
This is great. Great.
Real quick too, the camera that's facing the traffic coming into the village was placed there very recently, within the last couple of months. And again, we haven't received any alerts. I mean, we don't subscribe to the flock system, but Rio Rancho hasn't given us any alerts that, hey, there's a stolen vehicle or a wanted person coming into your jurisdiction. If so, I'm sure that they would. And then as far as the camera going out, if there was an occasion where we needed them to check and say, hey, you know, somebody on Coronado Road had their car stolen, we'd like to see if it went into Rio Rancho, Albuquerque.
Sure.
They would share that data with us. There is a little bit of controversy right now about who can access data, who can't, who should or who shouldn't because of the federal issues. And as far as local law enforcement goes, we haven't had those conversations because we haven't had to, luckily. But for the Rio Rancho cameras up there and for the Albuquerque cameras, if we requested specific information from one of their particular cameras for a specific time block within that 30-day window, then they would share it with us. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And like I said, if it's this governing body's wishes to have it removed, your call, I could have a conversation with the police chief, or if you wanted to reach back out to the counselor up there, we can resolve it.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilor Murray?
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, does Rio Rancho or Albuquerque identify where these cameras are located?
Yeah, so they do, the vendor, the contractor comes in and does a study and then has a conversation with the police administration, and, you know, they're nationwide, of course. And then they all agree where they're going to be placed. They're normally at the entrance points to the jurisdiction. So if we were to pursue it in Corrales, you know, there'd be one at the either end of Corrales Road in Loma Larga, and there's already one at Meadowlark, so why buy the cow?
But does the public know exactly where these cameras are at?
They don't publicize it. When the public asks, they do tell the truth. They don't hide it or lie about it, but they don't advertise it because they don't want criminals to intentionally take a different route.
Okay.
And these also are used for like amber alerts, silver alerts, you know, when a car is stolen. So that's what these are used for.
Are there any issues of Rio Rancho accessing data from Corrales? I mean, their cameras are in Corrales, and are they allowed to access Corrales information, basically?
So the Mayor, just the license plates that are being read is all going to be captured. And you know, there's no expectation of privacy driving on a public road and or of associated with your vehicle license plate. So that's out there. So they do access that. If the camera were to be moved, you know, the 20 feet or 25 feet, it would be capturing the exact same data. So it's just a matter of whether or not the village is okay with having it there.
And just for the public or the council's information, on a public information request, a license plate is not something that can be legally redacted by IPRA. So it's not considered a protected personal identifier.
Yeah.
But there's no liability to the village.
Nope.
Councilor Alsobrook?
Thank you, Mayor. So thank you for all of that background, Chief. I really appreciate it.
Council.
And my intent certainly was not to open up, you know, what's private and what's not, and what the use is and who controls it and all of those issues. My real intent here was that a neighboring municipality basically invaded our land and established a service that they pay for that we have no control over. Whatever liability may or may not exist, it's on our land. We're not paying for it. We don't have a contract to it. We're not even a third party to any of it, except for the fact that it's our land. So I'll make a motion now in case we have more discussion, but I'd like to move that we instruct the mayor or chief or whoever we designate to ask Rio Rancho to move the camera off of Corrales Village property onto their property.
Okay.
So
Is there any?
That's the motion.
Any second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilor Burkett.
I mean, and this is going to be half silly and half serious, but I don't know what the lease space of 2 square feet of concrete is, but we need 500,000 gallons of water from Rio Rancho, and maybe there's some sort of quid pro quo we could work out. So
here's your water.
that's right. Well, yeah, there's a lot more coming. Keep backing the truck up. I mean, to me, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as potentially something that, as a courtesy to the neighboring municipality, I mean, we clearly don't have an issue with our license plates being filmed because we're putting up live streaming in front of our office here for people with good Wi-Fi and no obligations, apparently, because I don't know who would watch that, but somebody apparently wants to. So I say, I mean, if there's an opportunity to turn it to an advantage and potentially either encourage Rio Rancho to be helpful with the water situation or say, hey, I mean, can we work out some sort of agreement to where you guys are using this and we get some sort of additional discount or
500,000 gallons.
500,000, yep, 500,000 gallons of water. I think that's the going rate for putting in a camera.
Councilor Knight.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I agree. If we're supposed to be good neighbors if it's just a few feet into our property, where if you move it, it's just going to be pretty much, 5 feet into their property, it's still gonna have the same effect. And I agree that they shouldn't have done it. And that, yeah,
Yeah, Council Knight and Mayor and Council, yes, and Chief Steele was very apologetic about it. He didn't know about it until after the fact as well. It
Right.
was, just an oversight, and again, on the vendor's part, not a city department doing it, right? And but
yeah, it wasn't a malicious thing. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mistake. So-
You mentioned that it's subscription based
yes, they're
and that
they're
we
under
don't,
contract.
and we don't pay for a subscription.
No, sir. we
What
don't.
is this subscription for specific cameras? Do you know?
Yeah, it's per camera. It's for $5,000 a year per camera. And it's a lease program, and they have
Would there be,
gotten some stolen vehicles. I don't know if it's that particular camera, but at different entrances to the city, when they get the alert that there's a stolen vehicle entering the jurisdiction, the officers saturate the area, and so they've been able to clear up wanted persons and stolen vehicles and those types of things. Like Melanie mentioned, when an Amber Alert with a vehicle involved is entered in NCIC, it'll hit on that as well. So there are some advantages there, but this was a communication issue, right? I mean, once the mistake was made by the contractor, and they were made aware of it, it should have been just a phone call, just a conversation, right? And I think everyone realizes that now. So it's just a matter of what you all decide as far as whether or not it's necessary for it to be moved, or if we live with it. And we do have that good relationship, and I don't want to cite any quid pro quo type of suggestions or anything, but they do a lot for us.
well,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
this is actually my question. Would you see utility in having a subscription to that
Yeah,
camera?
no, we're looking into it right now. We
Because-
actually have a policy that's been approved by Randy's office that's been implemented and added to our manual for the use of those cameras. There's a lot of intricacies, of course. There's when we wrote it in there, the officer can't rely just on the alert from the vendor, that they have to conduct their own personal visual verification and not rely on the AI that's utilized for that program, and make sure that not just the number and the alpha characters and the color and the description of the vehicle, but the plate state of the license plate, everything has to match. Right. And so there's a lot going into it. And then when we see that there's a funding source available, I will engage in further conversation with the mayor and administration, and run it by council as well, and give you an opportunity to talk to your constituents, because we have to gauge the community's sentiment. If that's something that this community is absolutely against, then we're not going to pursue it.
So that's a possibility to amend the motion. That's a lever we have. It's on the vendor. It's the vendor's expense to move it, and they're not going to bill Rio Rancho. They're not going to bill us. They're just going to eat it. On the other hand, I don't know if it's to Rio Rancho's advantage or not, but our lever there is, okay, you can keep it where it is, and you give Chief Mandracapra's agency subscription to that camera that we don't pay for.
I think if you want to direct me or someone else to talk to Rio Rancho, city manager or whomever, and say, hey, we understand this, and we're trying to be good neighbors, and you can keep your camera where it is, but let's work together in future projects like Angel Hill, the water tank and others. And I think we've had a pretty good working relationship with Rio Rancho in the past, and we can make some brownie points by just letting them know that we know about this, and let's work together. And it's not a big thing you can leave it in the ground.
But I agree with what you said. I don't see having the vendor move it as anything against anybody. It's the vendor's mistake. As you said, they decided to take the easy route out. It does have in the background, a small percentage thought in my head anyway, is that we're little and Rio Rancho is big. And they knew the mistake was made, and they didn't do anything about it. They didn't even, although apparently the chief did reach out to you. But they weren't, they weren't respecting the role of their neighboring municipality, where we have a contiguous 5-mile border. So that was really my prime motivation, is that we're small and they're big. That's too bad. We're a municipality, we're sovereign, so are they. We're not going to go start putting things up on their land. Let's put our Corrales, welcome to Corrales sign 40 feet up the road.
No, I think it'd be
it's that kind of issue for me.
Right. I understand. it'd certainly be a goodwill type of gesture and say, hey, let's continue to work together and, little mistakes might be made, but we have projects we're gonna have to collaborate with in the future and let's work as a team.
All right, so
I mean,
why don't I withdraw the motion and restate one?
okay.
So I would,
Exactly.
and I need the help of the second to withdraw the motion.
Second.
Okay. So I would restate the motion as the council directs the mayor to discuss and work with Rio Rancho to reach an agreement on the flock camera on Upper West Meadowlark North Side that is favorable to Corrales.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm
That
fine.
gives you some freedom to apply some levers, whether it's a subscription or something else, but
It's a good opportunity to interact with them in a positive way, I think.
and if you
Not
wait a little bit, you can meet with their new mayor.
Right.
So do we have a second on that motion?
Yes. A second.
If I may,
Discussion?
Mayor
Yeah.
and Councilor Alsberger, as far as the access or contract to that, the vendor wouldn't allow that. I can
Okay,
agree. Yeah. The city of Rio Rancho, if they could give us access, to log in and check the cameras database and all, they would have already, I'm sure, but the vendor wouldn't allow it because they want the extra money. But if we ever do need data from any of their cameras, not just the one, right there leaving Corrales, they would share that with us, I assure you.
Because it could be that we follow Councilor Burkett's lead. And the lease for that pole on our land could be the cost of the subscription.
That's a valuable chunk too.
Councilor Murray?
Thank you. So it seems to me, though, it takes two cameras in order to make sure you've got the facial recognition and also the license plate, since we don't have front license plates. So if somebody is leaving the village, the camera on our side would capture the plate, but it'd be the camera up the road that would capture the facial. Is
I
that
don't
correct?
think it captures facial. It's only license plate and the vehicle.
Yeah.
I thought there
Yeah,
was.
correct. Yeah, Councilor Murray, for these particular cameras, that's all. They're just shooting the back of the vehicle and the.
Thought you
ones
said
going
facial
away
recognition.
From it. No, sir. Just that they are AI based, but not facial recognition. It's picking up the alphanumerics, but this is an enhanced
Okay.
version of an
All right.
LPR where they have an actual color photograph of the vehicle that's retained for 30 days unless they have to download it for a case.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
So the motion is stated and is seconded. Does it need a roll call vote?
It can be a voice vote.
All in favor of the motion and the second, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes and I will be contacting city manager or whomever to discuss this issue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Future agenda items. Number 1, approval of resolutions for changes to PERA plans for police and fire employees to be determined. Number 2, uniform traffic ordinance, first reading, maybe the
Yeah,
second.
we're hoping on the 10th.
First meeting in February. Third is no parking draft ordinance. We've also discussed this briefly. And hopefully the first meeting in February might be a busy meeting. And the fourth is resolution approving farmland preservation projects, also that meeting. And okay, and there is a appeal hearing next Tuesday. There's a council meeting. It's appeal on the clean and lean on the old church property. So that's all coming up. Any other
And
agenda?
that meeting next Tuesday is at 6, not 6:30. So just make sure you are here a half hour early.
Any other agenda items? Being none, that finishes the business. So meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Melanie, I seek your indulgence.
My what?
You.